Hi, everyone. Hey. Okay, good. I'm on. It's Kate with creator of Corporate Women Unleashed. I'm excited to be continuing in our series of Is It Possible? So that's what we're talking about. And again, we're working with those of you who are hyper successful, right? You've got everything that everybody has always told you is going to be great on paper. Your life looks brilliant on paper, but it's not really coming together that way, right? You got all the pieces of an exceptional life, but it doesn't feel that way because you're tired, you're exhausted, you're constantly working your butt off. There's always like that next hill you got to climb, never any time to relax. And so what we want to talk about this week is it possible to be successful and continue to advance in your career and actually work less? Is it possible to earn more and work less, right? This will be a fun topic. But here's what I want you to do. If you are listening to this broadcast, whether it's live or you've got it recorded, doesn't matter. Write down in the comments a question that you have. Is it possible to, and then finish that out. What is the question that you have for us? And I'll come back and we'll respond to that because we want to make sure that everyone who is, living on this pedestal that is often lauded, but not always really comfortable, that you do have a great life, right? Nobody should have to sacrifice your life for your success. And that's really important to us, right? So everyone should be experiencing massive, massive amounts of well-being. And so what we want to talk about, and I love this topic because I don't know about you, but when I was a little girl, my impression, I'm sure from media and the movies or whatever, was as you become more successful, as you move up in your career, then life's going to get easier, right? You're going to be working less. They'll be like your minions will do this for you, which is horrible, right? Not that any of us want minions, but there was this concept that other people would then be doing a lot of the hard work. And you could just sort of walk in the room, give your opinion, walk back out and go do and other interesting things in your life. Like that was the whole point, right? Like I was like, that's what they told us. I don't know who they are, but they was we were going to just work our butts off for a period of time and then life was going to get easier. And unfortunately, for most of us, that's not what we experienced. In fact, if you are a self-described workaholic, someone who's an overachiever, a high achiever, high functioning individuals, we tend to continue to work and work and work and work and work. And that relief that's supposed to come never comes. And then what happens? We burn out and we walk away from some really, really amazing careers. And obviously the benefits that go with that, as well as the influence and impact. So what I want to talk about today is it possible to advance in your career, to earn more and work less? And absolutely, that's true. Okay. Now, I didn't understand this for a long time. And one of my big fears as I continued to climb in my career, and when I was first in sort of an executive environment as an a young executive, is I was terrified that all of this. Well, first of all, I think I definitely had imposter syndrome. I didn't think I belonged in the room. I was like, ooh, when are they going to find out? I have no clue what I'm doing. And then the second thing was, I thought I'll never be able to recreate this, right? Which is obviously not true because I did eventually walk away from all of it and I did recreate it. But there's a real fear that if you stop working as hard as you are, that, it's all going to disappear. Right. And that's just not the case. Now, that doesn't mean that you start dropping balls. And I think ultimately this is the fear. We talk a lot about this with our clients is, well, if I'm not constantly striving and I'm not constantly just pedal to the metal or, pedal to the floorboard or whatever, then I'm going to be a slacker. I'm going to be someone who drops balls. I'm going to be someone who doesn't get it done. And that's not true at all. Okay. To be really successful and to not be constantly on and, actually working less hours, really there's several things it takes. One is you have to understand about staying in your own lane, and you have to understand what your lane is. Your lane is not a job description. Your lane is where you can best influence and where you can best have impact and add value. That's your lane. But high achievers, what we've learned is to constantly raise our hand for everything, to be so good at what we do that everybody comes to us for the answers, to be that person that is, the key, which feels great. Oh my gosh, does that not do a lot for your ego? Right? But it doesn't give you the quality of life that you're missing. right? And so what's happening is you're working harder and harder and harder. And we self-create these environments where it's really created by us. We create our own little, sandstorm around us where we're always the point person for every question and every opportunity and every project. I mean, I remember at one point I was a VP of international marketing, and I was invited into this executive meeting. So everybody in there was pretty much more, I think everybody's more senior than I was. And I was like, ooh, goody. You know what I mean? Like you get to sit at the big kids table kind of a thing. And the subject had nothing to do with international marketing. It had nothing to do with international. It had nothing to do with marketing. It had nothing to do with anything in my world. And so I'm like, oh, this is so cool. I get to be in here. I didn't even take a notebook. Like, I think I was just like sitting there, like watching the ping pong match. You know what I mean? And at the end of it, I reported into the chairman at the time. He turns to me and says, okay, Kate, so if you could pull together notes from this meeting, distribute it to the rest of the team, and then be the person who spearheads this initiative, that would be great. And I remember going, whoa, I wasn't even paying attention. What? Hold on a minute here. I mean, like deer in the headlight. I was horrified. I was absolutely horrified. I was like, well, how did I get tapped to do this? This has nothing to do with me. I was like, what? And because I didn't have the skills at that point to communicate effectively with him, nor did I realize I probably should have declined the meeting invite to begin with and gotten some clarity before I ever walked in the room. But because I didn't really have the skills to manage that, I ended up taking on this project that was just, it ate me alive, because not only it was, first of all, it wasn't in my area of expertise. So now I'm trying to learn and figure out what does success look like in this environment. So I was way out of my depth, way out of my league, way far off Kate's reservation. And at the same time, here I was tapped to do this, and all eyes were on me, and it was giving me great exposure and all these things that, you think you're supposed to have in your career, which are important. Woo, man, that was a great lesson. And I wish I'd learned it the first time. I didn't. So to be really, really successful is understanding, like, what does success look like for you? Why are you in the position that you're in? That's what you're being tasked to do. And that's what you want to do. You want to stay in that zone. So it's not I want to make sure I make this really clear. It's not a job description. It is, what is the value you bring to this organization, to your boss, to the leadership team, to your clients, to the other people around you. That's the zone you stay in. Okay. Because when you step out of it, it's really, if you think about it, you're doing a disservice to everyone else, because now they're getting you in a more compromised state. Not that you can't do it. Come on, you're a high achiever. You can do anything, right? We can do anything we set our minds to. But when you allow yourself to be pulled by other people and or your own, oh my God, here goes my ego, I have to raise my hand, willingness to do it, what happens is your quality of life suffers. You're more likely to burn out. You are using the resources that should be kept for your genius zone in other areas. What's happening when you get home, if you have a family, they're being just completely annihilated by your temper or your lack of energy. And so now your personal life is suffering. If you don't have a family and you're single, then now you're too tired to go out with your friends or to make new friends or to initiate any sort of, romantic partnership. And it just sucks, right? Like, that's the worst. That is just the worst. And I didn't realize that for so long, how I just was in everybody's lane. There was another time where a guy who was in a different function, we were all traveling abroad, and sadly he was let go on that business trip. He was just really struggling in his role. And so of course, there's like 8 of us in the room. There are 8 other individuals in the room. My boss turns to me and says, Kate, I want you to step in and, you take over this in the interim until we can find his replacement. And I'm just like, okay. And at the time I'm like, wow, this is so cool. I got picked, me. Like, you feel really good that someone trusts you enough to take on these additional roles and responsibilities. And I'm not saying, again, as executives, it's, our job is to protect the company and to make sure the company thrives. So I'm not saying you're walking around going, no, oh no. Like, we're not like walking around with our hand up, but you're coming up with other ways to resolve some of these challenges other than you're just going to take it on and put one more thing on your back, right? So you want to make sure that you're swimming in your lane. And like in that instance, maybe I could have done a piece of it, or maybe I could have whatever, quickly overseen like the hiring of someone new, or I don't know, you know what I'm saying? But it wouldn't have been my job. But of course I didn't know that. Like I just took it all on. And now I was the head of this whole other line of business that, again, I knew very little about. I mean, I had some ideas and some thoughts on it. Of course you do. As high achievers, we always do. But again, see what I'm saying? And so now I'm suffering. Now I'm telling my daughter, oh, I'm sorry, mommy can't be there for that. I'm coming home late. I'm driving in my car 1,000,000 miles an hour all the time to get to all the stuff done because I'm trying to shove so much into what little daylight hours there are because I'm taking on so much. So one of the ways for you to continue to earn more and rise in your career is to be less of a workhorse, stay in your own lane, and more influential, right? Influence what's not going on, right? So we have a saying that we always teach our clients is the way we're working isn't working. That's the mantra. So your job is not to do whatever it takes no matter what. Your job is to influence, hey, the way we're working or the way you're asking me to work isn't working. Here's what we're going to do instead. That's influential, especially at the executive level, or if you're a rising executive. Not everyone we work with is an exec. That's, but you're ambitious, you're a high achiever, you're someone who has it all, right? And when you are someone that fits into that mold, you tend to be an overachiever. You tend to be more of a workaholic. You tend to be someone who just loves work. Like, I love work. Everyone's like, what are your hobbies? And I'm like, I have hobbies. Like, I love reading. I love reading Russian literature. I'm really big into like working out and my health. Oh my gosh, like don't even get me started. Absolutely adore my children. I'm very hands-on with my kids, and as well as some community, specific things in my community. So I have other things that I do love doing. I'm not, just one dimensional. That's a big piece of, I think, success, is to be someone who is multidimensional and multifaceted. But I like work. I do. It's creative. It's fun. It juices me. It's exciting. It gives me flow. There's all these different things that I get from my work that I really, really enjoy. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So, so learning how to do it though, and do it really well. If this is something you love, then learn how to do it exceptionally well. So you get the result of it that is amplified, a really cool, amazing life, which, yes, is going to include your work, but it's also going to include all the other things that are precious to you, like your family or your loved ones, or, travel when we can all travel again, or whatever it is for you, interesting books, playing music, doing art. Oh, that's the other thing. I've been doing more art. I've been doing more dance lately. And it's just like, oh my God, like you feel so alive. And then you bring that vibration and that vibrancy, and you just feel like I am a vibrant, healthy, engaged, interesting individual into your workplace that you love. It's just like the best thing ever, right? That's success on steroids. That's becoming someone who is capable of being recognized, that you can earn more and be given additional responsibility and additional opportunities within whatever it is you do. And you're working less because you're doing what is really in your sweet spot. Now, of course, we still want to stretch and try new things, but you should be driving that. Like you should be going, okay, I strategically want to stretch and do this thing. I strategically want to try to take on something in this area. But even then, it is not, I'm going to take that on and this on and this on. It's, I'm going to strategically stretch in this area. So this thing over here is going to get less attention now. I'm going to start putting this thing down or delegating it. The other thing that is really important for you to, earn more while you work less is to be a masterful leader, like truly a leader worth following. And we are not taught this. And I can tell you, I had this experience and I thought it was just me, but now having worked with, almost 400 women who are similar to me, a lot of leadership schools don't really teach how to lead. Because leading is not about a bunch of models where you're going to get a bunch of people to fit into these boxes, and that's what you're supposed to do. And then, oh, by the way, be sure to, look after your well-being, sweetie. Like, what? I remember being told that over and over again in these different leadership programs I would go to. Like, they were amazing. I got some great, obviously some great training out of them. But it was always like, you need to learn how to smell the roses. And I'm like, what roses? We don't have time for roses. We have work to do. It's like, I couldn't even conceptualize what they were coaching me to do. but they sure as hell didn't tell you how to do it. They just told you, oh, and by the way, go take care of yourself. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? How do I do that? How am I supposed to do that? And I think that is really a crisis that we're having, guys. Like, as we are learning to recreate success in a different way, and as our company's on the forefront of helping do that, right? Of really pushing that envelope and saying, success doesn't have to be created the way it used to be. Like, that's old school. One of the things that aggravates me more than anything is there's a lot of schools of thought out there that tell you this is what you should be doing. You should be taking a break. You should be working less. You should be caring for yourself. You should be taking time for your family, time for your health. Oh, but by the way, could you get these 85 things done by Friday? Oh, by the way, could you take on this other initiative? Right? Like, do you guys feel that way? You've got to write a 1 in the comments if you do. Like, you're hearing, take care of yourself, watch your well-being, don't burn yourself out. Oh, but by the way, can you please do these millions of things? And so you've got to be able to navigate that noise really effectively and understand that you can't be doing a should over here and a should over here, because those two things don't mix. You've got to be able to say, I am going to take care of myself over here, and this is how I'm going to work and take care of these things that you're asking me to do, right? And staying in your lane is a big one. But the other one I was just starting to talk about was really learning how to be a hyper effective leader. And to be a hyper effective leader, you have to know how to hire the right people. You have to know what to do when you adopt a team that is subpar and how to get them up to speed and or get them out. And you have to understand whether, especially if you hire really successful people, how to keep them motivated. Your job as a leader is to develop an environment and a culture where those people can thrive. Because when you're in your lane and they're in their lane and everybody's operating on, all cylinders in their best place, oh, life is magic. Life is magic. You're no longer managing. You're no longer checking in. You're no longer having milestone meetings. Everybody's just doing what they need to be doing, and you trust each other. And you have this magnificent team that is highly capable of delivering just the way you would deliver, if not better. How cool is that? Do you know how cool it is to have people on your team that are actually better than you? That is so awesome. And all you're doing is like, what do you need from me to support you? And so learning how to be a hyper effective leader, to keep people motivated, keep them operating at their peak, hiring the right people, dealing with the inevitable challenges and failures and mistakes. Like, people, even A players, are going to make mistakes. How do you deal with that in a way that doesn't demotivate someone? And how do you stay out of your team's way? When you can be a really top leader like that, I don't care if you're a senior manager and you've got, team under you, or you are a CEO, life gets really fun. You want to talk about working a hell of a lot less, because now you're not checking in on everyone, or you just have the mental space. I mean, it may not even be working less hours. It may just be the time you are spending in your private life is like enjoyable because you're relaxed. You're not like, oh my gosh, I got to go check in on Tim, or I got to go check in on Donna, or I'm worried about this thing or not. You're just like, it's happening. You know what? Oh, I don't have anything to do. I'm going to go, hit the gym early today or whatever. It's like, wow, that's fun. That's a lot of fun. Does that make sense? All right. So I hope this broadcast was helpful for you. Again, we're doing a whole series of broadcasts right now called Is It Possible? So I want you to write in the comments, is it possible to, and then ask us a question, and I'll come back in and we'll be answering this entire month. Cool? All right. It's been great speaking with you. Again, if you are someone who is hyper successful and the pieces of your successful life are not falling into place, you're risking burnout, you're really considering stepping away from what is a significant career, please don't. Give us a call. We'll somehow in the comments here, we'll link to some additional resources. I want you to watch one of our free training presentations. They're a little bit longer than these, but it really will help you get some insight into what's possible for you so you don't step away. And then if that's a fit, then I want you to book a call with our team and talk to one of our executive coaches, because there's a lot of options out there, guys. And let's figure out what those options are for you. And then you'll know, and you can move forward with your eyes wide open. Cool. All right. I'll see you guys next time.